listening to Tonebender's Sound Design Podcast, presented by Sound Ideas. This is the show where we talk with the sonic artists behind our favorite films, games, and series. If summer has your next project heating up, Sound Ideas is making it easier to build up the library you'll need. During the Sound Ideas mid-year sale, you can save 50% on all proprietary items. From impacts and ambiances to vehicles, animals, machinery, production elements, and specialty effects, you can stock up on these professional sounds before your next deadline hits. Get ahead of the edit with sounds ready for any scene, transition, texture, and any surprise that may come your way. Shop the 50% off mid-year sale now at sound-ideas.com. Hello and welcome to Tonebenders. My name is Tim Muirhead and I'm delighted to have the re-recording mixers with me today from two of this year's most talked about Emmy-nominated shows, The Bear and Beef. The Bear is nominated in the category of Outstanding Mixing for a Comedy or Drama Half Hour, and joining me today is supervising sound editor and re-recording mixer Steve Major Giamaria. Major has been a re-recording mixer on The Bear since Season 1, Episode 1, and seen the show to its completion now with Season 5 out now. Major has previously been on Tonebenders to talk about The Bear way back in Season 1 in 2002, and then again to talk about working on Sesame Street last year in Episode 328. It's always great to talk to you. Welcome back, Major. Great to see you.
Thanks, Tim.
Also on the line, we have the re-recording mixers from Beef Season 2. Penny Harold and Andy Lang are nominated in Outstanding Sound Mixing for a limited or anthology series. Both Penny and Andy joined me on this show to talk about their work on Arcane back in episode 309. I'm excited to speak to both of them again. Welcome back to Tonebenders, Andy and Penny.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great to be
Jim.
here.
So first off, congratulations on the nominations. I love it when people that I personally think are great get their flowers, so I'm really happy for all of you. All of you have been with these shows from the start, so both shows' latest season is very different from the first season in a much more literal way with Beef, but that's also true with The Bear. Maybe we can go around the horn and kind of compare the most recent seasons with what kind of different sound perspectives you had to bring to it for the most recent season. Maybe Penny, do you want to go first with that?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. Beef, very obviously, very different for season 2. When we first talked to our showrunner, Sonny, about, what does he expect? What does he want? Since this is a different beast, he kept coming back to the word polished. And we say, okay. but we kind of learned along the way what that means. And I think it fits the look of the show. Like season 1 was very gritty and raw. And season 2, there's a lot more subtlety, nuance, a lot more music. And I don't know. It was just a very different experience with him from season 1 to season 2. Season 2, he was chasing like a very clear, clean dialogue tone, a very dynamic dialogue mix, a very dynamic mix overall. And so we spent a lot more time in season 2 just like locking in and making everything the most mixed it could be.
The most mixed. I like that.
It's the most mixed.
We mixed it a lot harder, yeah.
Every fader moved at all times.
Yeah.
Major, do you want to add about how the Bears changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, each season is a little bit different. I mean, season 1 was kind of jumping into the world. Season 2 was construction. 3 and 4 were kind of a calmer departure. 5 is kind of, it's a bottle episode kind of, or bottle season. The whole thing is one day except the last episode. And then, Thunder and Lightning replaced construction and replaced everything else. So it was a return to form, honestly, from season 3 and 4. But then also you have these kind of constants going on. So instead of pushing and pulling forks and spoons and chopping, you're like, okay, what can the rain be hitting now? Or what does the thunder sound like, in this moment to help punctuate it? So it was a lot of that. And then score for the first time not for the first time in The Bear, but no needle drops, no source music. It's all just pumping score the whole time. So it was kind of figuring out how to get these characters to exist in a new sonic world, basically. It's still the restaurant, but they're also getting better. So they're less, it's less cacophony of plates clattering and them dropping things and whatever. So they're just moving a little more precisely. So getting all of that a little bit cleaner and with a little more intention, while also maintaining just the classic bear cacophony of yelling at each other. And we had a fun hurdle this season, or season 5, of just the mandate of absolutely no ADR. We finally had to do one scene, but that was interesting with practical rain the whole time. So cheers to my editors that had to deal with that. But yeah, it was quite an interesting ride for that season.
For sure. Something that I noticed that both shows do throughout their run is pull everything away except for music. The nominated episode for The Bear from season 4, the first couple minutes is only music. And then there's definitely moments throughout Beef that happens. I'm wondering if we can talk about the tricky art of getting in and out of those music moments. Like what tricks you've acquired over the years and experience to make it so that it's not obvious to the audience that the Bee Gees have disappeared and stuff like that. How do you hide those transitions, and maybe what's your first approach when you first get those scenes? Andy, do you want to maybe talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, the scene that comes to mind immediately when you said that was in our finale in episode 8, the big climactic moment when Josh and Lindsay kiss. That moment was very music forward in the beginning of the scene. And then Phineas's amazing score just hits right on the kiss. And so that was kind of an easy moment for DJs and sound effects to drop out right there, you know?
Well, that gets you out, but what about getting back in?
Back in, that carried it right to the end of the scene in that particular moment. Actually, no, there was something cool about that scene with the way that the score kind of did these waves, right? And so I actually brought the Bee Gees up kind of when the music would go down. And so it was this kind of alternating feeling of like hearing the world come up for a second, just a little bit, just very subtle, but then the music, swells, bring it back out.
One thing about season 2 that we did with score was every single needle drop, it lives and breathes and arises from the score. Like Phineas composed a lot of cues to like directly overlay and play into the needle drops. And that was kind of a theme of our season anyway with Polished. Nothing can arise from nothing. Like it all has to arise, grow, and build from the emotion of a scene. So that was one way that we were able to make these needle drops themselves feel so organic and so earned, I think, in every episode, is that they all grew out of this like great overlaid score.
I like that. That's the exact opposite philosophy of The Bear, where it's like, hey, Pearl Jam. It's just like needle drop for fun, 2 at a time, sure, whatever. There's just no rhyme or reason. That's interesting living in such a purposeful, polished world that you guys got to live in. We haven't said this, but I mean, your show sounds great. Which one of you mixes dialogue?
I'm dialogue and music. Andy's sound effects.
Well done. Well done. Very good. Yeah, both
Thank
of you.
you.
Outstanding. I watched it when it was on, and I was just re-listening to some things to refresh. And I'm like, man, I'm jealous of that dialogue tone. So,
well, likewise, love the season of The Bear. I'm a big fan of your work.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, back to your original question of the music only moments. I like them because it's a nice, minute and a half break. But hey, we just got through 90 seconds of footage. The particular scene that you were referencing with Sydney in that cooking montage, that actually used to be in the middle of an episode, and they recut the first 3 episodes a couple of times. And I think part of the reason was they couldn't figure out how to get in and out of it. It just felt like, here's a random music video. So I think part of the recut was like, this needs to live somewhere that makes sense. So it's kind of like the cold open to the episode. So I didn't have a problem getting in and out of it there. But later on, there are some, when they go out to the snow to reveal the special surprise, to kind of the emotional climax of that episode, 2/3 of the way through. I think the transition there was on the going to the exterior, and then we're able to come back in when we get to who ends up being the Starman. Spoiler alert. Like Andy had said, it's kind of picking your moment to what makes sense to either sneak them out if you're trying to be sneaky about it or be purposeful about it. It's kind of when you get caught in the middle of like, are they doing that on purpose, or is that you got to either sneak them out or like really slam them out, I feel like, in order to make it work.
Well, it was interesting because how you got out of it was she pushes the plate, and that's the first sound you hear, I believe, at least as a viewer. And the plate push along the countertop kind of brings with it all of the ambience comes up and everything as the plate gets pushed.
You know
I thought
what?
it was
You're right.
a really
I forgot about that.
technique.
Yeah. Sorry. I did that episode like 2 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. The Bear comes out at such a weird time. You premiere like the first day of ineligibility for Emmys, so it's a full year later.
No, you're right. That is how we got out of it. And I think, part of this, especially on jobs now when people are like, they want some of that Bear energy, I have to remind them that like this is all built within the structure of the picture department. There has to be visuals and a structure to support all this. It's so important to have in our picture editors, and Chris Storr and all are so amazing at like realizing that like we need to give you a moment to get out of it. We need a plate slide, and let's use that sonically. You can't just slap on crazy sound design to like two people talking. It just doesn't work. So having a central vision, which it sounds like you all had, and it seemed like it worked quite well, of some planning going into it and thinking about sound and not in a bubble of like, hey, let's slap some cool sound on after the fact, because it just doesn't work.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question of planning, because both of these shows have kind of one long takes multiple times within the show, particularly in The Bear has an episode in season 1 that's all one take basically, but there's lots of times within The Bear where we're going through rooms with characters. And then in Beef season 2, in the finale episode, there's that fight sequence where they come out of the one hallway and go through, and everybody's getting punched and stabbed, and then eventually it ends a few minutes later with someone getting shot. As the public at large, we hear how much planning goes into on the day of the shoot to make that happen. But to pull it off sonically on the mix stage, it's got to be panned everywhere because we're the point of view of the camera. And that takes a lot of work. And I thought maybe we could have a quick discussion about how, when you see that scene coming up, what's going through your minds when you know a long one take is coming.
For us, as like a major, you mix by yourself, right?
Yeah, just me.
So we have to coordinate together, which is takes honestly really like a comfortable relationship with your mix partner and a lot of communication. My stuff has to be panned exactly where his stuff is too, and it has to be precise in a scene like that where there's so much going on. You want the audience's eye drawn exactly where it's supposed to be. Also, the other thing that's fun about that scene is like the music's very like driving and percussive, but our showrunner Sunny described it as like it's stupid John Wick. They are not warriors. They are not fighters. They are fumbling and like lucking into every swing, every dodge. So none of the impacts could be like beefy. Like Ashley's hitting that one guy with like a bone mallet. Andy having to get that stuff through this really percussive music was a huge challenge too. And so I would duck stems out of the way when he needed and things like that.
Yeah, admittedly, the first pass, I might have tried to make it sound too cool, and I had to kind of dial it back.
As we do.
The whole idea was that they're accidentally kicking ass, But yeah, I mean, like Penny said, it just took a lot of communication and coordination. We each kind of individually work offline through it first. We've been doing this for long enough now where we kind of know where the other one might pan stuff. So we'll kind of eyeball it in at first. But then when we go through it linked up and put in the music and the Foley, then we're like, okay, hey, how far panned are you on this particular part? So just to make it really clean. And then a lot of it is actually removing stuff to make space, to make the important sounds, shine.
In terms of panning, I actually have some questions for y'all. Have you found, and I'm just kind of thinking of this now, I'm doing so much less panning now that so many people are approving shit on headphones. Have you guys found that? Like, I get so many notes now if it's not in the middle. Or if I'm going left like 25%.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Just no wide panning anymore. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah, on headphones, we definitely get dinged if something's panned too wide or too far. And on the mix stage, they'll be like, oh, it didn't bother us here, but we'll take a look. And yeah, that is definitely a thing.
Yep.
You know what? I first noticed it. I also do Sesame Street, and they're always like walking off. So I'm like, oh, let me pan them all the way off. But once they get like more than 50%, like because your brain's not hearing it right, it just like it sounds all off in headphones. So that's where I learned that in the pandemic, trying to get Sesame Street. But anyway, panning digression aside. Yeah, I think for Wonders in the Bear, the ones I'm thinking of are like Richie moving through the dining room. So it's a lot of, honestly, panning like loop group. Just like, oh, let me hear a whisper of that table. Let me hear a plate down, that kind of stuff. Dialogue staying in the middle mostly, he's not getting into too many fist fights, on the way through. But it's a lot of loop group, or sometimes I'll kind of slowly change the panning on like just the BG, like wall of beds and that kind of stuff, just to try and give a sense of movement movement because I have so much static stuff. The score is just kind of there. That's not moving unless we're going to grab another character. Usually we're trained right on Richie moving through. So yeah, it's panning just to feel the movement through the room for me, and not too aggressive, just enough to feel that table go by you.
Do you like oneers?
Sure. Yeah, it's something different.
I guess what I mean by that is is it something that you're excited to jump on because it's a little something different, or is it just you're tackling scene by scene and making it work as best you can?
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's exciting because it's something different. But I mean, for me, it's like we finished the bear so quickly that it's like, cool, a scene, let's go. Like, there's no planning. It's let's do our first instinct and get it out of the way. I mean, as a viewer, sometimes when it's a oneer that's like in the middle of a random show and you're like, why are we doing this? Is this just a technical flex? Like, I like it when it adds to the story. But yeah, for sonically, it's nice. Yeah, we get to pan some dialogue and go through the room a little bit. It's fun.
Hey everybody, I'm jumping in here to remind you all that the Tonebenders listener field recording stories call for submissions is still on. To take part, send in a recording that you have captured that you really, really love, along with the story of why you love it so much. It can be a sound that took a lot of effort to record, or something that was just a glorious accident, a sound that is universally thought of as beautiful, or something that just has special meaning to you. It cannot even be the sound you were meaning to record. Also, everyone that participates will be entered into a draw to win one of 2 O-Mini high-sensitivity miniature omnidirectional microphone pairs from Chris Trevino. For full details on how to enter and to hear the listening field recording episodes from 2024 and 2025, go to tonebenderspodcast.com or click the link in this episode's description in your podcast app. Submissions close on August 15th. So let's hear what you got, everybody. We have a kind of unique opportunity here where we have a mixed team, a 2-person mixed team and a 1-person mixed team. And I thought maybe we could kind of compare and contrast the beginning of the day, how you start the session in the morning. Maybe Penny and Andy, do you want to talk about how you're setting up the session and how you're collaborating through the first pass, maybe?
We start our day by working offline from each other. So right now we're on a show that's a 4-day mix. And for our first 1.5 days, we are working completely separately. So I'll be mixing yesterday a scene in a restaurant and he's in a warehouse.
Right.
That took some getting used to, but we're big believers in neither of us going into headphones and hearing it out of the speakers. And it doesn't bug me too much because it's nice to hear where his BGs are sitting. Otherwise, I feel like I might be mixing my dialogue too low. So even if he's in another scene, it still gives me this context of where everything's going to sit.
So are you in different mix rooms or
No.
you're in the same room?
Same rooms,
We're
same
sharing
speakers.
sharing speakers like a couple of crazies.
That's wild. I love that.
That is impressive. Must take some getting used to.
Yeah, I think so. And just from doing it for a while, you just kind of get used to it. Obviously, if I'm going to start working on a shootout scene, she might take a break.
I'll go to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to go get a snack. But for the most part, we can kind of tune the other person out. Or if she's trying to, notch out a tone or something, she might tell me to hold up for a second.
Steve, how do you tackle the day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in lots of fast passes on a mix rather than, some people are like, let's dig into scene 1. And when we're done in, 4 hours, we'll get to scene 2. My brain doesn't work that way. So I'm like, let me slam through the dialogue as fast as humanly possible, get it where it plays, and then let's add another layer. Okay, let's add my BGs and music. Or if I have them, I'll do them, I'll do my BGs at the same time as I do my dialogue. Or if it's a music driven scene, that I need that to sit the dialogue in. But it's, a quick dialogue pass. So on the bear, it's like 4 to 6 hours, depending on the scene or depending on the episode. And then, just keep adding layers until I get everything and then run out of time and then go from there. We'll kind of finish our first mix pass on an unlocked version of the show, and then it'll get recut, and then we'll conform and then remix and that sort of thing. So it's a little more fluid than I would like, but I'm used to it at this point. I kind of pre-mix my Foley as I go and just add it in when needed. So if it doesn't need it, I don't use it, or keep it at such a low level that you're not hearing it anyway. So it's a lot of trying to be as efficient as possible with my time, and not getting those kitchen breaks, because man, a partner would be nice sometimes. But I have mixed 2-person, and I love having another set of ears. That's the problem with mixing by yourself. Sometimes I'm lucky I work in a facility, and I can call other mixers and be like, hey, can you listen to this, because I've lost my sense of smell on this. I have no idea if this sounds like anything. So
Penny, Andy, Major just mentioned that there's tons of conforms and such. How close is Beef to locked when you guys are jumping on the faders?
All the episodes came to us locked.
Right on.
But it took them a long time to get there. Sonny is very detail oriented. He's such a completionist. Like, I often joke with people that we mix season 2 of Beef syllable by syllable, and it's only kind of an embellishment. And so I think their picture editorial process was like that too. He's just so thorough. By the time it got to us, now our supervising sound editor did start work on some unlocked versions, but for the mix stage, they were locked because we knew time was precious.
do you find with a showrunner like that, things will get overcooked sometimes? Do you have to we've worked this scene too much, we need to kind of back up a little bit?
He was pretty great at recognizing that himself. Sometimes we'll try a bunch of different things, and then he'll be like, let's go back to how it was, and so that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's good. That's good. As self-aware perfectionist, that's pretty rare.
We always say he was the man with the golden ears, because he would always impress us with things like that. So
how often while you're mixing these shows do you get a chance to kind of get creative with the sounds? You've got all these amazing sounds on your timeline from your sound editorial teams. And then once you hear it all with the music and everything like that, how often are you going, oh, well, maybe what if I did this to that, or reverse the sound or anything? Do you guys find yourselves digging into the actual sound files, or are you just mostly staying on the faders?
The answer to that question is always budget and time. I think
yes.
Every one of us wants to spend as much time with that as possible. And every project's different, and every project has different needs. And for Beef, we were very fortunate. They gave us a lot of time because, like I said, Sonny's a perfectionist and he wasn't going to accept anything besides what he wanted. So we did get an opportunity to play.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not every project.
And Sonny created such a collaborative environment. It was amazing that we felt like we could try things, and he would, let us do that. I think that's really rare. And so a lot of times, we get to a design moment, and I would, really dig in and try something fun. So that was really, really rewarding experience, I think.
I love that. Yeah, I think you hit it when they have to be willing to let you take a swing and recognize that I see where you're going with this. Let's not abandon it right away if you don't hit it immediately. Okay, I see what you're doing. Let's change this, and this, and I think it'll work. Because, I've definitely worked with a showrunner where they're like, what am I hearing? This isn't in my guide track, that sort of thing. On Bear, very hands-off in a good way, where it was like, hey, here's the picture. Team would put a ramp up or whatever, and as a placeholder of we know they're going to do their thing there, especially in the later seasons where everybody was kind of comfortable with everybody. That's what I love about TV. And once you get a few seasons in, you're with the same crew, everybody kind of knows. They would hear some of our sound design and be like, oh, that's actually a good idea, let me give you a little more room here. I've never been in a situation where sound can actually influence picture, which is kind of the dream. That was a real privilege on the show. Was Joanna would be like, oh, I see what you did here, let me give you a little more time and a couple more cuts to kind of complete this thought there, which was, what a gift.
So Major mentioned earlier about going through the dialogue first, tackling it in kind of food groups, if you will. How long did it take you to get the experience and the intuition on how to leave room for things you're not mixing yet, or in Penny and Andy's case, someone else is mixing? Where do you get that confidence to know that you're kind of in the pocket?
I'll let you know if I ever get there.
It's just time and experience, right?
Yep.
What's hard is, in an ideal world, I would do my first pass with music because I think music sets where my dialogue should be, but I don't, out of courtesy, because then he would never hear his backgrounds and his surrounds. So we put in music when we link up. And then sometimes you're wrong and you change it.
You've led me to a new question about your process. So you do a full dialogue pass, Andy does sound effects pass, and then once they're together, that's the first time you tackle the music?
In the Foley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll pre-dub BGs and effects. Yeah, she'll pre-dub dialogue and group. And then, when we link up, then we're putting in music and Foley. And that's what works for us. But hey, every crew does it different. That's just been working for us.
What's the thinking for doing Foley once it's all together?
I think it just because it complements the production track, it's where, you want everything to be matching and ideally you want it to sound like the production. So we kind of like wait to dial that in against the music and just have everything sitting perfectly.
When you first started working together, Penny and Andy, did you come into the room with that plan or has it evolved over time?
I think it's evolved over time, but we kind of landed on that workflow pretty quickly.
That's cool. So for my last question, I guess I wanted to ask, what is your favorite moment from Beef Season 2 that you got to kind of put your special touch on? Steve, you can pick between Season 4, because that's what you're nominated for, and Season 5, because that's out as well now. Andy, do you want to take that first? What was your favorite sonic flourish that you kind of felt like you put your signature on in Beef Season 2?
One of my favorite moments, I think, was in episode 4, which was the hospital ER episode. And there was this sequence where we're building and building and building into Ashley going under for surgery. And so it was this huge rising score and music coming right up to the level of the dialogue, just enough to still understand everything. And I'm building this design as she's going under. And we had this heart monitor that was in my tracks. And I kind of decided to use that to carry us into the black. And it was a fun, one of those moments where I was kind of given freedom to just try stuff. Actually, our effects editor, Jerry LaFuente, had kind of done a bit of a pitch shift on the heart monitor initially. But once I heard the score, I was like, okay, let me pitch shift it to match the same key as the score. So everything kind of falls away as we go into this wormhole. But I left the heart monitor up and it kind of just goes down in pitch as we fade into black. And it kind of sounds almost like score in a way. And that was a really fun moment where I was given the freedom to just play.
That's very cool. Major, do you want to go next and then we'll wrap it up with Penny?
Oh, yeah. Well, just first, I want to say that hospital episode in general, like we've all mixed a scene in a hospital and man, they're like tougher than they should be. And you guys nailed it. So great work. I'll go with season 4. That whole sequence where Richie is kind of coming into his own, serving a beef to these guests. It's very music-led, but I forget the track, but it's like not Pearl Jam or whatever. So it's like a kind of a different feel. You're feeling the sense of dread kind of lifting. There's a little bit of hope in the restaurant. And I think sonically, we're trying to have a sonic turn there of everything being a little bit lighter and there being a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, whether they make it through or not at that point in the story. And I think just still bringing joy to these guests and seeing Richie's transformation. And that's kind of, aside from Forks in season 2, that's kind of when he is, reaffirmed as, I think, the star of the show or at least emotional center of the show. And I think sonically, just playing in a little bit of a different palette for us was really fun. I don't have any specific, tricks or anything we did in there, but just that whole sequence kind of sculpting the dialogue around that music, which is very, older music is a lot more dynamic. So you have to really kind of work it a little bit. You're really kind of working the fader around the dialogue. They never let us edit the music to, move the lyrics around the dialogue or anything. So it was really a tricky bit of mixing to really just kind of stay out of the way of the emotion of the scene. So
there's a great line in that sequence where the person at the table next door to the table he's helping says, like, you made them so happy. And Richie says, no, it made me happy. And like, it's kind of a throwaway line, but it's also like an exact representation of the evolution of his character.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful moment. Penny, do you want to wrap it up with your favorite Sonic moment in season 2 of Beef?
Yeah, I think the epilogue, final episode of season 2 was pretty unique in that we had kind of a long needle drop going under the whole thing. It was Phoenix, Love Like a Sunset. And it was like, you're in this long sequence that is leading up to like the thesis of like this whole season, right? We are all stuck in this cycle. And that needle drop didn't quite give them the build they needed. So Phineas, again, like composed some score to overlay on it and help build it to this like crescendo of this like Wheel of Samsara, and getting to play around with those stems. It was just very collaborative. We had our director for that episode, Jake Schreier, on the stage. Sunny was there, of course. Myself, Phineas, our music editor, who was amazing, Luke Dennis, really crafting and sculpting all the stems around the dialogue and through that piece of music to get this build they were looking for was just a very fun collaborative process.
It was very cool. I didn't realize, I'm not familiar with that song, so I didn't know that there'd been overlays on it like that. That's very cool. That's impressive. It worked perfectly.
It did, yeah.
Quick, Major, I have one question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kitchen reverb?
Oh, yeah.
Kitchen
What's your
reverb-
favorite?
oh.
What was your go-to?
Small reflective room.
So my sneaky secret is almost all of my reverbs all the time are indoor by Audioways. I am
Nice.
very lazy. I am a UI snob, so I want to click on the picture of the kitchen and get kitchen. So yeah, the bear is the kitchen and the restaurant is the restaurant, and it sounds amazing and it's easy and yeah. So
Hell yeah,
I mean,
man. I use that one too.
yeah. No, I'm a big fan of indoor because it's you can get there quickly. I mean, it's just, hey, look, a living room. And then the time really, I mean, I use it for all my music futzes now. The first time you do a house party and use that for your music futzes, that's what sold me on indoor. I'm like, oh, I can just move the speaker to the room. It's oh my God, it's so much easier than trying to like reinvent every one.
Yeah, it's great.
But, yeah.
Awesome.
How about you? Are you a big indoor fan?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
awesome.
I use it a lot. Yeah, everything you said, I totally agree. I tend to have way too many reverb inserts. Multiple inserts on one return, just so I like having options.
That's the move.
But
yeah.
to the detriment, of my template, probably.
I'm very, I'll say, lazy with my reverbs. I have my defaults, and I'll throw. I got a short and a long, and I'll throw it. And if it sounds good, I leave it. Which is,
Yep.
Some would say lazy, some would say efficient. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Some rooms just sound great.
Honestly, I have 2 indoors on my workhorse. I've got an Altiverb on the pyramids for like the really long thing. I've got Revibe on the default setting because my old mentor is like, well, the default's going to sound the best because the first thing you do is open it up and play something through it. I'm like, great, perfect. Revibe on the default setting for like sound design sparkle and 2 slappers, and that's it, man. And then rock and roll.
Awesome.
Love that slapper.
Yeah, same.
There's my secret sauce.
Yeah. All right. Everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Yeah. If you want a copy of my template, just email me.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much for talking with me today. I'm a big fan of both the shows that you're working on and of you all as people. I hope we get to cross paths again sometime soon. And thanks for talking with me today.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure.
I love the format of getting 2 shows together to talk about how they go about accomplishing great sound, but often in very different ways. I hope to do more like this in the future, so stay tuned. Big thanks to Major, Penny, and Andy for being up for a bit of a different format. I'll be covering the Toronto International Film Festival this year, so if you have a film in the fest, reach out and let me know, either through Instagram or email via info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Also, if you're going to be in town during the festival, I'm working on at least one gathering for sound people to get together to hang out. So stay tuned for more details in the coming weeks. The next run of episodes will be live recordings of the Tonebenders panels at Sound Day LA, so keep your ear on this feed for episodes with Stranger Things sound team, Spider Noir's sound team, as well as panels from Apple TV including Widow's Bay, Pluribus, and Shrinking, and HBO with DTF St. Louis, The Pit, and Hacks. My name is Tim Muirhead. Thanks for listening to Tonebenders. If summer has your next project heating up, Sound Ideas is making it easier to build up the library you'll need. During the Sound Ideas mid-year sale, you can save 50% on all proprietary items. From impacts and ambiances to vehicles, animals, machinery, production elements, and specialty effects, you can stock up on these professional sounds before your next deadline hits. Get ahead of the edit with sounds ready for any scene, transition, texture, and any surprise that may come your way. Shop the 50% off mid-year sale now at sound-ideas.com. Tonebenders is produced by me, Timothy Muirhead. Theme music is by Jim Guthrie. You can reach me via email through info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Follow Tonebenders on Instagram to stay on top of new episodes. If you like the show, you can help us out by spreading the word to your friends and colleagues. Or leave us a tip. Just go to tonebenderspodcast.com and click support.